Today we will be making a outfit table slash worktop for my new setup. The current setup I have is a foldable extension table that I made. As you can see, it's not even straight. It's just a piece of wood that I found, and I use another plank here, as you can see, and prop it up and use further planks at the bottom to match the height, and I just clamp it. Well, clearly it's not safe at all. I shouldn't even be using it like this. So I've decided I cannot be living like this anymore, and it's due an upgrade. So let's get to it and let me show you what I made, and we will go through the process of how I made it.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
So I managed to make this whole workbench out of reclaimed wood. I used the old kitchen worktop as the top of the workbench, which I then cut to size. As the countertop was not wide enough, I used the space at the back to use as compartments. I used many different types of wood that I salvaged for this project. This included reclaimed pallet wood as well as thin pieces of plywood which was offcuts from a previous project. I incorporated a front lip to use as a clamping station for other projects. The legs were salvaged from garden posts, garden gates and other offcuts that I found. The braces you see now were salvaged from a wooden bed frame that was used to hold a mattress. I kept the wood in its raw form to highlight the fact that it was made fully from reclaimed wood. These are the pieces I will be using for my workbench. As you can see, they are all from reclaimed wood. So we're saving the planet as we speak. First, I am marking and prepping the pallets to make the top of the workbench. As the pallets are in their raw form, the nails are still sticking out, so I'm having to first hammer them out and then have them ready for sanding just to get rid of any splinters. I must say I had to wrestle with a few of these off camera. Now you can see I'm making the cuts for the legs. Here measurement wasn't important, I just made sure it's long enough, and then I went round to cut it down to match the height of my table saw.
Stop, Daddy, that's lots of wood.
Now with all the pieces cut, let's get them ready for a quick sanding over. Now I'm making the rectangular shape for the tabletop using my trusty corner clamps. After making sure they are fully at 90 degrees, then go in the pre-drilled holes and then the screws. I am also pre-drilling holes for the legs. As the pieces are thick, this is definitely a good idea. We had to take a moment to let my daughter test out her drill. I am using 3 long screws to make sure the legs are strong as possible because the tabletop sits quite high from the ground. I will brace up the workbench as much as possible to reduce any wobbling, as you will see. I'm attaching more screws on the other side of the leg. Now I am bracing up the short side of the workbench. Here I am using planks from a wooden bed frame to brace up the long edge. I first clamped one side, then screwed the other side, then came back, removed the clamp, and then screwed this side. Now this is the main carcass, and this is a quick show of how it's looking like. As you can see, I've braced it up as much as possible, hopefully not much wiggle room there. What you just saw was the workbench upside down, so this is the right side up. Now I'm going to put further bracing on the top end of the workbench. It is always better to cut the pieces bigger than the actual size that you need, and then slowly chip away a bit of the edges and have a snug fit, as you will see. Again, making sure I pre-drill every hole before putting the screws in to make sure a tight fit between the two wood pieces. This is the snug fit I was talking about. Now to think of it, maybe it's a bit too snug. When drilling in those long screws with my impact driver into those thick pieces of wood, my battery dies every 2 screws that I drill. And no, I didn't have a spare battery, and yes, I do sometimes think about the life choices I made. Now I am cutting off the excess leg from the workbench to match the table saw. I went through with the cut with my jigsaw first. It didn't cut all the way through, so then I finished off with my handsaw. Here I am adding thick braces right at the bottom of the leg to avoid any wobbling and to make surface area for the casters. Now the mess that you see here that I've made is because I needed to find some washers. I will show you why. And that is why. To fix this problem, I had to first put through a small washer and then a larger washer, so then they both get stuck and push the casters right onto the wood piece. If I only used one of them, either it goes through the screw or it goes straight through the caster holes. Now here's the casters in action, end of action. Now for the top of the workbench. This is a old countertop that was used for a kitchen which no longer is being used. So I've decided to grab it and give it a new purpose in life. If anyone is wondering why I am not using a straight edge to guide the circular saw through, is because the plate of that circular saw is bent. I had to find out the hard way by thinking that maybe there's something wrong with me, but eventually I found out it was the plate. Now I am securing the worktop right on top of the main carcass that I've built. 4 long screws in each corner should do the trick to hold the worktop firm. Now for one of my fancy features, the compartments at the back. So here I am closing off the compartment, so if I put in any screws or anything like that, it doesn't fall through every time. And I am securing it with long screws, as you will see. This will sit at the bottom as the base of the compartments that I'm making. And these are the markings to account for that piece of wood, as you can see, so it sits flush right at the bottom. Now there you have it, nice and flush. Now to secure it in. Now to secure the piece that I've just made, I am screwing from the bottom into the vertical pieces at the top, as you will see. This is for the middle vertical piece, as I cannot get on either side to screw in from the sides because of the left side and the right side pieces. Now we begin cutting out the pieces for the side caddy, the other fancy feature that I have. Now again, using my trusty corner clamps, I am using my nail gun to secure this as opposed to screws. So these are my compartments that I will have on the right hand side, and I'm going to continue to nail gun them through to attach each compartment. It is important to attach these pieces first, then attach it to the side of the workbench, and then go over and then attach the last piece, as you wouldn't have enough clearance otherwise. And just to add, I never had to think this much in advance in my life. And finally, a quick show of my whole workbench against my table saw as an extension table for longer pieces of wood. I'm very happy with the way my workbench turned out. It's very practical, it has ample space for storage, as you can see, and it's got multifunctional purposes being used with the table saw as an extension table. So very proud, and I'm really excited to use it in my next project. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my other videos for similar content like this, and thank you for watching.